A Confession of Marriage, the true story of Marilyn Monroe and Arthur Miller, focusing on the years after marriage. Marilyn Monroe was a symbol of beauty, desire, and Hollywood glamour. But behind the lights, behind the perfect smiles and captivating eyes on screen, she was a woman who carried a simple and profound longing to be loved in a true and meaningful way. Arthur Miller was her opposite. He was an intellectual, a Pulitzer Prize-winning writer, a man who lived in the world of ideas, reason, and deep inner reflection. Arthur was accustomed to silence, to mornings spent alone with his thoughts, to observing life from a distance. From the very beginning, their marriage was a meeting of two entirely different worlds. But it was only after they married that those differences truly revealed themselves, not through loud conflict, but through a silence that slowly settled between them. Marilyn did not love Arthur for his reputation. She loved him because, for the first time in her life, she felt seen as a human being, not as a seductive image, not as a creation for public desire. With Arthur, Marilyn believed she could find peace, understanding, and the freedom to be herself without performing. Arthur Miller also loved Marilyn, but his love carried more expectation than acceptance. He believed he could save her from her fragility, from her insecurity, from the emotional wounds she had carried since childhood. Arthur loved Marilyn, but he also wanted her to become a different version of herself, calmer, more controlled, less emotional. They married in 1956. For Marilyn, marriage was a promise that she had finally found a home, a place where she no longer needed to prove her worth, a place where she could be fragile without the fear of abandonment. But very soon after entering married life, Marilyn realized that this sense of safety did not arrive as she had imagined. Arthur became increasingly distant, not because he did not love Marilyn, but because he did not know how to live with her vulnerability. Arthur loved her, yet he felt uncomfortable with her public image, an image that was too bright, too loud, too far removed from the quiet inner world he valued. Arthur wanted a wife who was calm, stable, and capable of sharing his intellectual solitude. Marilyn, on the other hand, needed tenderness, reassurance, and above all, emotional presence. In their daily married life, this difference became impossible to ignore. Marilyn lived in constant anxiety. She struggled with depression, insomnia, and a deep sense of not being enough. She needed to hear that she was loved. She needed to be held when her emotions overwhelmed her. She needed someone to stay when her fear of abandonment resurfaced. Arthur, by contrast, felt exhausted. He felt pulled into an emotional world he did not know how to navigate. Instead of moving closer, Arthur chose silence. Silence became his way of creating distance. Silence became his way of protecting his inner life. For Marilyn, that silence was not peace, it was erasure. She once said that the most painful thing was not being abandoned, but sitting beside someone who no longer truly saw her. During shared dinners, Arthur was often lost in thought. Marilyn sat across from him, trying to speak, then gradually falling quiet. On nights when Marilyn could not sleep, Arthur slept alone in the next room. They shared a house. But no longer lived in the same emotional world. Marilyn began to feel that she had to earn her place in the marriage, to be stronger, to cry less, to stop burdening Arthur with her emotions. But the more she tried, the more exhausted she became. She felt herself slipping back into a familiar role, a woman who must struggle to be loved. Arthur saw Marilyn's decline, but he did not know how to respond. He loved her, but his love did not carry the tenderness she needed. He believed that if she became stronger, everything would improve. He did not realize that her fragility was precisely why she needed love the most. The distance between them did not appear suddenly. It accumulated slowly, through small moments, quiet disappointments, and repeated silences. Marilyn increasingly relied on sleeping pills, not to escape Arthur, but to escape the feeling of being unseen within her own marriage. Arthur increasingly buried himself in work, not because he did not care, but because he did not know how to face his wife's pain. Their marriage gradually became a place where neither of them felt safe. Marilyn no longer believed she was loved unconditionally. Arthur no longer believed he could provide the stability he had hoped to give her. Arthur later admitted that he had been unable to love Marilyn in the way she needed. In a later play, he created a character inspired by their marriage, a belated confession filled with regret. Their marriage ended after only 5 years. Marilyn left carrying a sense of failure in love and a growing doubt that she deserved to be loved at all. Arthur continued his life, but carried with him lasting remorse for not staying close when the woman he loved needed him most. This is not the story of a cruel man or a weak woman. It is the story of two people who loved each other, but could not give one another what was most needed. Their marriage did not collapse because of betrayal. It collapsed because neither of them could truly be themselves. And perhaps that is the most painful confession of marriage, that sometimes love is real. And still, it is not enough to keep two people together.